I got so many tapes now, my shelves are sagging down, but I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop. No self-control.
I've been listening a lot to Peter Gabriel's third album, Melt. I've listened to it before, but you have to sometimes you listen to an album and it doesn't really grab you, and then you get some more context for it, or just some time passes, or you learn a little more about the backstory of it, and then it really, you really get into it. So I've had that experience with several Peter Gabriel albums now. That song is No Self-Control from Melt. Okay, welcome back, folks. Welcome, everyone. It's once again time for Operation Barber Watch 2024, where we wait with bated breath to see if my barber will ever respond to my texts. Because I have a wedding to go to it next weekend, and I can't do it looking like this. And I texted my barber yesterday, 24 hours ago. Those of you who go to barbershops, do you just schedule your appointments on a recurring basis? Do you go and get your hair cut and then just say okay, I'll see you in 6 weeks. Let's put that on the calendar. Because if that's standard practice, I'm not doing that. And maybe that's why my barber never responds. Okay. Yeah, I see most other places nowadays I've been to have online appointments, but the places with online appointments are bad at cutting hair. You can't get them both around here. Today, I have this nice suspenders today. Yeah, that's AKA I didn't put a shirt on this morning. It's time for tapes. I have a few things I need to do, but they're all tape related. First of all, I need to frantically clear some hard drive space in order to have this VOD actually work and not run out of disk space. So I'm going to do that while we watch tapes. But I'm also going to, I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm wearing a t-shirt that says Infinity Ward, which is what I'm usually wearing. I gotta clear me some gigabytes, and then I also got to, I'm going to start working on categorizing the tapes a little better. Maybe I can share some of that. Yeah, so this here. I promise there will be tapes, but why not kill a little time up front? Let's add a browser source. And let's make it, oh wait, no, I don't want that. Sorry. Oh, it just picks a window randomly. I guess it probably picks the most recent window that you had up. Okay. I love just randomly choosing a window to share with the world. So this is the Golden VCR inventory. This is the spreadsheet, right? This is what the website pulls all the data from. So this is where I enter tapes and stuff. These are all the tapes we've ever gotten. These are the categories. This column is the Twitch user ID that gets sometimes, most of the time, converted to your username on the website. Here, though, we have... So there are a few things I want to get data for. For one, this is a list of all the tapes in the order that we've broadcast them, and I want to just go through and pick the ones that I like. But then also, I want to keep track of series. So a lot of the tapes that get sent in, they're all from a similar series, and I want to like label that so that I have an understanding of like how many things we've watched from a particular series, how many tapes we have not yet watched in a series, and so that I can clearly signal when people are like thinking about sending tapes in once submissions reopen, so that I can clearly signal like, okay, well, if somehow there's a magical fourth Prayer Bear tape, like hell yeah, we want that, but and if there's more like computer animation stuff, yes, but I won't give kid songs as an example, but actually I have to, I will. But like maybe we're good on kid songs because we have like 8 that we haven't watched, right? And so we probably don't need any more on the shelf right now. That sort of thing. So tagging all the tapes that are in a series with their series. I think will help me. And then also, this is just a kind of rubric that I've come up with. It's a work in progress, but you can just, this isn't like a strict thing that that I expect people to do for every tape they're deciding whether or not to send in, but it just kind of should give you an idea of like the vibe of thing we're looking for. So if if you're looking at a tape and you're like, is this golden VCR material? Well, you can be like, all right, it's it's informative. It's not Googleable. It's old technology. And so it's like, oh, that's 7 points. That's probably a good golden VCR tape. But if you're like, well, it's it's about a niche subculture and it's from 1988, so that's cool. But it's also, you got a PG ratings plastered on the back, and it's distributed by Paramount, and you can go on Paramount Plus right now and watch it. And it is part of the well-known media franchise, the Ninja Turtles. Then that's a -4, so probably don't send that in. Just to give people clear guidelines on like what we're looking at getting. I should turn the alert sounds back on. Thank you, Green Day. So I also want to go through the back catalog and like label all of the things. This would be kind of a big effort, and I don't know if it's worth it. But going back through and labeling, like answering these questions roughly for all the tapes that we have, so that I can assign this meaningless golden VCR score to every tape, and then we can sort of like, then you can see what the cream of the crop is, or what our idea of a good golden VCR tape is. Anyway, all that said, I'm going to be working somewhat on this data. Thank you for listening to me talk for 10 minutes about it. Let's do some tapes. But first, we had 1,000 bits from Green Day Rock. Oh my God, it is Spooky Month. We're going to be able to watch Eyewitness Skeleton soon. It's Spooky Month. Do you know what that calls for? Bones. Let's do it. Let's bones. Are you ready for bones? Them Bones is what it's called. All right, Them Bones. You can thank Green Day for this one.
So you wanna be a doctor? Well, they're getting there is slow. A whole lot of school to learn the things you gotta know. We're going to call on our friend, the skeleton, and name these bones one by one.
We got the foot bones. Connect the shin bones. Connect the thigh bones. Connect the hip bones.
Now what we've got here is the lower half of the body, beautiful, and that's no laugh.
Cheers.
The other bones of the body we need to see, 'cause put together neatly they make you and me. These bones gonna walk around. These bones gonna jump around. These bones gonna dance around.
We love these body bones.
We got the finger bones. Connect the hand bones. Connect the arm bones. Connect the shoulder bones.
Now you and me are gonna play a little game. I'll point to the bone and you say the name.
Foot bone. Shin bone.
good. There was 40 gigs in my recycle bin.
And now you all know how the bones
That
stick
solves that
together
problem.
from head to toe. Just stand close together and do your thing. We put all the bones together again as we sing. One,
It's true, Haley. Kid Songs gave us Mr. World.
connected to the
Shin bones, the shin bones connected to the thigh bones.
Kid Songs is a borderline thing for me, where it's like I genuinely don't mind watching them,
Finger bones connected to the hand bones.
even if they're not.
Connected to the arm bones. The arm bones connected
They're nice. They're a nice once in a while thing,
connected to the
but I don't need to see the entire Biggles catalog.
walk around these bones of the body love to jump around these bones of the body love to dance around. We love these body bones. We love these body bones. We love these body bones.
It's always tough. You have to be a little bit mercenary when you're the one putting the tapes in your house. But also, you guys are the ones sending them in, and I want to please the crowd just as much as I want to find weird shit that only appeals to me. So, it's an effort to strike an appropriate balance, and that balance does include a little bit of kid songs. Don't worry. My sister and her partner bought me this Mir brand thermos. This non-thermos thermos. I don't know if it's a status symbol. Apparently it's a Seattle thing. It's like the alt Stanley. I don't know anything about cup identity politics, but I understand that cups are a big part of identity politics these days. So, all right, damn it, let's finally watch a tape. I have 4 picked out today. This will streamline the decision-making process so that I can focus on data, tape data. But I will let you pick which one you want to see first of these. We may not see all 4. We may only have time for 3. We have Canada, the Undiscovered Land, Atlantic to the St. Lawrence. This is part of a 3-tape box set from Reader's Digest about our beautiful British Columbia featuring land. We have the lost episodes of Victor Borge. Musical comedy paired with incredible musical performances. Victor Borge. We also have, as somebody mentioned last stream, Flying Saucers Are Real from the UFO Chronicles. I believe this is our last UFO tape. And then I also picked out, this is probably a VOD killer, so maybe I'll save this for the end. But it's Smoky Mountain Hymns, chosen primarily in just to remember the folks that are in the Smoky Mountains and surrounding areas that are going through a lot of difficult shit right now. So let's poll for those first 3 and see which one you want to see first, eh? How about it? I'll poll. I will poll. Tape, UFO, Borge, Canada. All right, there's your poll. Oh my God, it's close. It's close, but Victor Borge is in the lead. I see you trying to 3-way tie it over there. goldenvcr.com. Borge. Here's Victor Borge in all his glory. One-liners, crazy musical misinformation, falls, double takes, and best of all, some of the most beautiful music in the world, played by Borge and his orchestra. These hilarious comedy routines are from Borge's TV specials that kept millions... Oh wait, it's UFO. How did that happen? Wow, okay. Switching gears here. UFO Chronicles, Flying Saucers Are Real. Don't worry, we'll watch Borge next. A compelling report on UFO phenomena and their cover-ups. Stanton T. Friedman, nuclear physicist and noted lecturer, explains in a down-to-earth fashion the recovery of crashed saucers, alien bodies, and a cosmic Watergate. Flying saucers are real. Mr. Friedman has worked on classified... I hope this guy is like Paralandra lady levels of nutso. Mr. Friedman has worked on classified government-sponsored high-performance propulsion systems and nuclear reactors for deep space travel. I'm sorry, did the U.S. government fund research into nuclear reactors for deep space travel? I guess maybe. That seems like a very thin thread. His humorous and knowledgeable fact-filled lectures about UFOs have made him a favorite guest on national TV and radio, including Nightline, Unsolved Mysteries, sadly Jesse Raphael, and NBC's A Closer Look. Copyright 1993, currently in Stanton, from UFO Central Home Video, a division of UFO Video Inc., distributed by Good Times. Holy shit. There's a whole company called UFO Video Inc. that had different UFO-themed divisions of tapes. I did not realize how big of a phenomenon this was in 1993. All right. With no further ado, this has been a long preamble. Thank you for being here. It's time to learn that flying saucers are indeed real. Also, a question is, should I text my barber again to just be like, yo, how soon is it appropriate to bump a text conversation with your barber? I sure hope the answer is yes. UFO Central. He's from the Northeast, so that intimidates me. His whole thing is like, I'm a New York guy. So I fully expect that a New York guy, if you tell him, like, if you get on his bad side, he'll just, like, I don't know, people from the Northeast are violent, aren't they? Mr. Friedman has 15 years in industry and design development testing of high-performance systems. Yeah, nuclear stuff. He's done nuclear stuff. He's worked on Pioneer spacecraft 10 and 11, which are now out past Pluto. He has 20 years experience. Okay. This is a great Star Wars resume. Yeah, he's gonna tell me that it'd be a shame if something happened. In a very vague way, if I bother him with a text message. Also, morning, Joshy D. You're up bright and early. Oh, I did get a box from Joshy D. I have not opened it yet, but I'm really excited to.
Also here in Washington,
it's 80s Nightline.
Friedman, a physicist who's been involved in nuclear space and research for such companies as General Electric, Westinghouse, and General Motors.
That's a bummer.
He has studied and lectured on UFOs for almost 30 years and is in Washington this week taking part in the International Symposium of the Mutual UFO Network. Mr. Friedman, there are books, there are magazine articles, there are television interview programs which have very little time, such as this one. Give it your best shot. If you are seeking to convince the skeptical, what do you point to?
I'm seeking to convince the healthy agnostics. The skeptics don't want to listen to the data and my findings. I point to the 2,400 plus
true scientist, this guy.
Physical changes in the environment collected from 65 countries. I point to the 3,200 cases in Project Blue Book Special Report 14, 20% of which couldn't be explained, and are all the characteristics we attribute to flying saucers. I point to the 3,500 pilot sightings collected by
I've only
NASA
previously
scientists on the
made
West Coast.
Earl Grey
I
tea
point
in
to
this
Bud
thing,
Hopkins' 140 abductees
and I
with a waiting
tried to
list
wash
of
it out and then
200,
put coffee in
enormous
it,
amount
and my
of
coffee just tastes like Earl
data
Grey.
in the
It's
form of
pretty gross.
documents, some of them obtained from the government directly, some not so directly, clearly indicating that our planet is being visited, that some UFOs are alien spacecraft, and that we are indeed dealing with a cosmic Watergate.
Bergamot coffee is not my favorite.
With today's modern technology, it's not too difficult to fake any kind of photographs. You know what computers can do. You see it on television all the time. But that isn't so true for pictures of flying saucers taken 20, 30, 40 years ago, even 10 years ago. There are a lot of pictures. I'm sure there are a lot more sitting in people's drawers at home in their cabinets waiting for the breakthrough to come when the government tells all. But we can look at a selection of these. There have been motion pictures. We're getting to the point where there are a lot of video cameras because lots of camcorders are around. This first one was taken motion picture in the southwestern part of the United States near the Four Corners area. You see the very rapid pace across the middle of the picture. That's a natural monument in the background, not a man-made structure. You notice the second one coming after it. That lasts for a total of about 20 frames, roughly 1 second, not much to work on. So let's slow it down and look at these two going across. Now, movie cameras are not ideal scientific instruments because the exposure time is pretty long, 30th of a second or so, compared to...
So this is a guy with a thin veneer of scientific legitimacy.
But it's an interesting piece of photography. There are a lot of decent stills around which have been analyzed by professional scientists.
He's standing in front of a Saturn rocket at the
from McMinnville, Oregon.
probably Huntsville
Taken by
Space
a
and Rocket
farmer,
Center.
Paul Trent, not a sophisticated individual at all. Pictures have been analyzed by Dr. Bruce Maccabee, an optical physicist with a Navy research lab, a very sophisticated individual. He's looked at the original negatives, examined them very carefully. You can see there's two pictures, and then we'll blow up the object, enlarge it in the second one. Notice the interesting shape and the sort of hood ornament there up at the middle. This next picture was taken near Rouen,
thank you,
France,
Penguin
by a French
Penguin
military
Yak for the
pilot,
reset.
4 years, 6,000 miles away. Same shape, same hood ornament, obviously rented from the same great car rental agency in the sky. This next picture is one of 3 that were taken near Santa Ana, California, by Rex Heflin, who worked for the state highway department. He was driving his van. He had a Polaroid camera on the seat of the car, always did, in the seat of the van. Saw this object, took pictures from inside the van, first out ahead of him. You can see that here. We can enlarge that first one, sort of a hat with the dome on it. Then 2 pictures taken outside to the right, taken from inside the van, but through the side door window. This is Santa Ana, California. 3 years later, and 7,000 miles away, includes Romania. We have another set of 3 pictures. There were 3 witnesses to this one, 2 people watching the guy take the pictures. They were analyzed in Romania, again in England, published in one of the better journals of Flying Saucer Review. Here's yet another object from Bolodic, Yugoslavia that looks like the same model.
I love how there's a pecking order
Nobody's
of
saying they all look
crackpot
alike, just as
publications.
obviously, our spacecraft don't all look alike. Here's another set of pictures, this time from Salt Lake City, Utah. There's a sequence of 7. I've seen the negatives uncut, taken by a professional photographer. There's no building there. There's nothing reflecting off glass. You can follow the object as it moves from left to right across the sky. And yes,
If you
that's
put
the Mormon Temple in Salt Lake
If you
City.
put spooky synthesizer
Then we'll
music
enlarge
behind
number 5,
black and white
1 through
photographs,
7 there, you see.
it lends you a
Enlarge
lot of
number
credibility.
5. And I think that region around the object is an ionized air plasma related to a magneto-aerodynamic propulsion system. The next picture is from Hawaii. The
Ah, yes,
object's
those
in
are
the upper
words.
right-hand portion. You notice the palm trees and the hula girls. And here's a blow-up of that same frame. That's Hawaii. Here's one from Yungay, Peru. 2 objects in this one in the upper left-hand portion of the picture. And here's a sequence from Trindade, I'm told it's pronounced, 600 miles east of the coast of Brazil. The ship was there as part of the International Geophysical Year and had an official Brazilian Navy photographer on board. There'd been a sighting earlier in the week in that area. It was broad daylight. Suddenly everybody shouts, "Hey, there goes a flying saucer. Take a picture," in Portuguese, of course. Grabs his camera, takes the pictures, takes 6 of them. 4 of them show the object. As the object came in from the right at high speed, makes a sharp turn, and takes off again, a Saturn-shaped object like the planet Saturn. The pictures were eventually released to the public by the president of Brazil, Juscelino Kubitschek. Here's the first one. This is at some distance now. Here's number 2. Here's number 3. And here's number 4. And this is the best of the batch, so we'll blow that one up and we'll enlarge it once again. And we're kind of back where we started. At least 50 different companies on this planet that could build things that look like that. But I know of none that back in the 50s could build things that look like that and fly like that. High speed, sharp turn, no noise, no visible external engines, no wings, no tail. If it wasn't built here on Earth, it was built someplace else. And it's time we did something about it. What I'm trying to do is to make you aware of the overwhelming evidence that some UFOs are extraterrestrial spacecraft. To remind you of something you already know, that is to say we all do have something in common on this planet. We're all Earthlings. And also to demonstrate that we're dealing with a cosmic Watergate.
I'm sorry, I need to know more about cosmic Watergate.
Hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena.
Is there a space scooter Libby?
However, there have been a certain percentage
descending from the skies
reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
My first
Oh wait, Scooter Libby was the Cheney guy.
Polaroid? It's got to be real. I mean, how do you fake a Polaroid? And that's what had me convinced to go ahead and put it in the paper right away.
What if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by a power from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all?
Ronald Reagan made allusions to alien forces not once, but 5 different times, including a speech before the United Nations.
And why did he say that 5 times? Once, it's a nice figure of speech, but he said
clear proof.
He said it to Gorbachev.
Clear proof that they're aliens.
Responded, saying you didn't disagree with him. He said it at a high school in Maryland. Why bring that up unless there was some reason for bringing it up?
The greater the education, the more likely to believe. That's exactly the opposite of what the skeptics have been trying to tell us for decades. But they don't have any data. If you're a believer, you're with the cream of the crop. It's time to come out of the closet. You're not at the bottom of the barrel.
You're special.
Let's stop being apologist, ufologist, and closet ufologist. Let's tell it like it is.
While in space as command pilot on Gemini 5, astronaut General James McDivitt saw an unidentified object approach his spacecraft and then move away when he tried to film it. One astronaut who actually chased a UFO while a fighter pilot in Germany in 1951 is Colonel Gordon Cooper. One of the original 7 Mercury astronauts, Colonel Cooper sent this letter to the United Nations November 9, 1978, to express his view on UFOs. I believe that these extraterrestrial vehicles and their crews are visiting this planet from other planets, which obviously are a little more technically advanced than we are here on Earth.
Incidentally, a poll taken of engineers and scientists involved in research and development activities, twice no less, shows that 2/3 of those who expressed an opinion said they're real too. So you're in very good company.
As a presidential candidate, Jimmy Carter vowed to completely open the government's UFO files because Carter said he had seen one himself. In 1977, there were hints in national magazines that disturbing revelations were about to be made by the president. They never were. And Carter didn't open the files. We wrote to ask him why, and we're told Carter is too busy for any interviews.
Yeah, we've had Jimmy Carter
There are loads of papers by
did just turn 100.
aeronautics experts, astronautics experts, engineers, showing that trips to
I feel bad because
nearby
we've had
shops,
a
our local neighborhood,
pretty negative.
within less than
We've
50
only
light
covered
years,
pretty
are
negative
feasible.
facts about Jimmy
With
Carter
round trip time
on
shorter
Golden
than the
VCR
average
so far.
person's
We've talked
lifetime,
about how he
and
pardoned
without
Peter
violating or
Yarrow,
even amending any of our most sacred laws of physics.
and now
using
we're learning that he
fission or fusion
said
propulsion
some weird shit
systems
about
for different
UFOs. But he's also done a lot of amazing work.
on
It was a
both
pretty,
of which I have worked. I said staged again, you know.
pretty stand-up guy.
Now, some people might think, uh-oh, here comes the science fiction. Got to have science fiction and flying saucers, right? Wrong. There really were nuclear rocket programs. I've worked on both fission and fusion. The NRX-A6 nuclear rocket reactor propulsion system, reactor's only about this big, had a power level of 1,100 megawatts, half the power of Grand Coulee Dam. I worked for Westinghouse on that one. That was preceded, incidentally, just to surprise you a little more, aircraft nuclear propulsion systems in the late 50s. We successfully operated jet engines on nuclear power. Nuclear ramjets in the mid-60s successfully operated nuclear power on the ground. Now, the fission program was the largest, and we had a whole bunch of different systems that we tested. Here's the Phoebus 2B. Los Alamos built these, a whole series of them. Very similar to the NRX-A6, a little larger, maybe this big. The most powerful one had a power level of 4,400 megawatts. That's twice the power of the old Grand Coulee Dam, this big. Now, this isn't Walt Disney now in a science fiction movie. This is reality.
The humble bragging is a
That's
little
grand.
a little
And
off the
these pictures
charts.
are taken from a long distance away. You don't want to be close to one of these things when they're operating. That's nuclear fission. Yes, it's the same energy conversion process that's used in nuclear-powered submarines, aircraft
He reminds me a lot
carriers,
of.
cruisers. There's over 300 nuclear-powered ships out there.
There was this guy I
They
went
won't take you into space.
I went to SCAD with. He was in several of my classes. He just seemed like a pathological liar.
But really,
I don't know what
nuclear fusion.
I don't know what it was
It may
like
seem like a strange word to you to realize nuclear fusion is the most important source of
that
energy
made
in
him
all our lives.
inflate
The sun up
everything
there
the way he
is
did,
not
but he
a
would just
mass of
like
burning gas. No oilmen up
we'd
there.
be talking about
sun
like
is a fusion
Call of
factory.
Duty Modern
That's the
Warfare
process
or
that
you know
produces
something like that, and he'd be like he'd just start
Now,
talking
it's
about like
true
oh
that
I was
indeed
actually secretly in
space bombs
Blackwater
and
and I went on this
controlled
campaign and I
for a very
actually
short period of time. Anyway, back in the
saw
early 50s, I
Osama bin
worked on
Laden
nuclear
and
fusion
almost
propulsion
got him,
systems.
and we were in a
Government
Black
sponsored
Hawk and I
contract.
had
We
all
didn't
these
test hardware
guns,
like the
and he
fission
was like
But give the program
a
oh,
pudgy
I don't know, $60 billion
19-year-old
in
from
20 years, you'd have man
from
rated,
like
very
the
exciting.
middle of nowhere in
deep space
the
fusion
Carolinas.
propulsion systems.
Like
what's the big
it was
deal
just,
about fusion? Well, there are two big deals. One is if you use the right
it's just really
stuff in the
strange.
right way, you can kick particles out the back end of a fusion rocket, only in space now.
I'm sure people like that are
10 million times
subconsciously
as much energy per particle as they can
doing
get
it to
in one of
protect
these
something
chemical
very
reactors.
fragile in
On a
themselves.
miles per gallon basis, surely fusion is the
But
way
it's
to
just
go.
weird when it's
In
so
addition,
obvious and you're
the
like,
stuff
I
you use
oh,
to kick
okay,
out the back
okay,
end.
dude.
Isotopes of
Moving
hydrogen
on.
and helium, which just happen to be the two lightest and
Don't
most abundant
think I know how to
substances in the
comment on
universe.
this,
Wherever you
so
go,
let's just
the
pretend you
gas
didn't say
stations
it.
may be closed, but you're going to find hydrogen and helium. So we Earthlings already know how to get to the stars. It's a political choice. Do we
This
want to
guy
spend the
reminds
money?
me of that guy
I'm
on,
not saying we
on
should.
multiple levels, is what I'm
But
saying.
we don't need new laws of physics. Just one heck of a lot of good engineering, such as went into this, and courage.
But I suppose we can look up his credentials. Stanton T. Friedman. Let's Wikipedia that guy. He sounds like a Deus Ex character. Oh, he died in 2019, RIP. An American-Canadian nuclear physicist and professional ufologist who is based in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada.
Videotape was recorded
The capital
during
of British
one the
Columbia.
trips to the Groom Mountains.
Okay. Good luck.
No, what? Did you see that move it did?
No, I didn't.
It went
because
like
I kept
it went boom, boom.
Well, look at how bright it's getting. Look at it now.
He was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Went to Rutgers, then the University of Chicago. Got a master's degree in nuclear physics in 1956. He did work as a nuclear physicist for General Electric, Aerojet General Nucleonics, General Motors, Westinghouse, TRW Systems, and McDonnell Douglas. He did work on advanced classified programs on nuclear aircraft fission and fusion rockets, and compact nuclear power plants for space applications.
That also applies
with these
when you move
defense
over
contractors.
to the other big objection to space travel, deep space travel, and coming here and then making...
He left full-time employment as a physicist in 1970 to pursue the scientific investigation of UFOs.
Say they can't possibly make right-angle turns like that. There's a book, Physics for People Who Don't Think They'd Like Physics, and I don't like the book, which says when you get to 9 Gs, you die. Nonsense. NASA here has learned an awful lot about what kind of accelerations people can stand. They've done tests on centrifuges, rev them up. There's talk about courage, physical courage. Now, 1 G is the acceleration of gravity here at the surface of the Earth. That's a change in
he beefed with Carl Sagan
per second.
So he had strong views against
So 1G,
SETI,
in other words,
Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence,
very hot
in their
car.
research.
In 10 seconds at 1 G, you could get to 210 miles an hour. That's a pretty hot car. Okay, how much can...
He was a classmate of Carl Sagan at the University of Chicago.
One of the things is the direction
and he often
of
criticized
the force on the
Sagan
body. You notice that when
for
any
ignoring
astronauts go up, they're
empirical
only on
evidence
their back.
about
Not
physical
like in an
visitation
elevator. They're
by
not standing up and
aliens.
the rocket goes up this way, but the force is back to front. Why is that? That's because they can stand a lot more acceleration back to front than foot to head. Well, how much can they stand? A trained pilot, this is measured data now, a trained pilot can handle 14 Gs for 2 minutes and perform a tracking task while being accelerated. Now, what does that mean? 14 Gs in acceleration of
Actually,
about 300 miles per hour.
This guy probably...
So if you were starting from rest and being kicked at 14 Gs...
I said he sounded Deus Ex because his name is
At the end of 1 second,
Stanton.
you're
There's a
going
character
300
named
miles an hour. At the
Stanton
end of 10
Dowd in the
seconds,
original
you're going
Deus
3,000
Ex.
miles an hour. And at the end of those 2 minutes, you're going 36,000 miles an hour, and you're long since out of sight and off the Earth. That's measured
But almost
data.
certainly this
Not
guy was the
theoretical,
inspiration for
hypothetical, I wish
at
we
least
could,
that
but we can't,
name.
so we won't kind of data.
Because he was a Majestic 12 conspiracy
We can
theorist.
stand higher G loadings than that. The shorter the duration, the more the G loadings you can stand. For example, this is test data. You can stand 30 Gs for 1 second. What does that mean? That's 0 to 600 miles an hour in 1 second.
It came up above the same mountain. It moved around. It did a step move. It actually went up in the air like this and hovered, then dropped way down. Then it just floated around and cruised around, and then it started coming up the mountain range.
I love how this tape is throwing in so much
This Air Force base here in Roswell, New Mexico.
80s, early 90s TV footage.
Back in 1947, but over 40 years later still remains unsolved. Remnants of a mysterious craft were found on a remote ranch and allegedly stored here in Hangar 84. To this day, there are many who believe it was a UFO. When we first heard of the incident at Roswell, we assumed
Unsolved
it
Mysteries was such a wild show. Like, I was a little kid when it came on,
aircraft, an errant missile, or perhaps it was just a hoax.
and it was just like,
However, eyewitness accounts and disturbing evidence.
it was something I wasn't supposed to see as a kid. Like, it wasn't made for me, and I wasn't old enough to really
This is the front
have any
page of the
skepticism or
Chicago
like
Daily
totally
News
separate what I was
July
seeing on TV
8th,
from reality.
1947. This is an evening paper.
So it was just like, I also grew up Catholic, where like
All evening papers
there
for that
being
day from Chicago West.
vague mysteries that are actually really quite true, and you have to believe that they're true, was like a normal expectation.
This goes
So it just had this air of like sacred mystery and
This is the front page. of
really,
the
it was
Roswell
really
Daily
freaky.
Record, an evening newspaper.
Anytime
for
Unsolved
July
Mystery
8th,
came on when I was like 5 years old, I really felt like I was getting a glimpse into some forbidden reality.
Airfield captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. This is the front page of the Sacramento, California Bee, an evening paper, July 8th, 1947. Not quite so flamboyant. This is the front page with very flamboyant headlines of the Los Angeles Herald Express, an evening paper, July 8th, 1947. Now, you'll notice it has the original story, the same as the others, but now it's got a second story. General believes it is radar weather gadget. Now, you notice that California is 2 hours behind Chicago, New Mexico 1 hour. What's going on here? A rancher named Mac Brazel, on a ranch out in the boondocks, 75 miles or so northwest of Roswell, 15 miles southeast of the little town of Corona, heard a tremendous explosion late one night. It was during the middle of an electrical storm. He didn't think it was thunder, though. The next morning, he's out checking on a water pump. This is a sheep ranch out in the boonies. It's pretty dry. And
it feels like there's such a thin line between this kind of like, I'm a nuclear physicist and I'm telling you that aliens are real kind of stuff, and like
was weird
religious apocalypse theories about the eclipse. You know, the dudes that were like, oh, it goes through 7 towns named Salem, the path of the eclipse, and that means the second coming is nigh.
Extraordinarily strong.
It's a slightly different veneer, but it seems just like the same kind of nonsense.
Long, about a half-inch high, about the weight of balsa wood, next to nothing. But you couldn't cut them, break them, burn them, and there were strange...
I think I'm letting my personal biases out here. I have to tell you, I'm not all that convinced by this guy.
There was a bad thunderstorm the night before. The next day, he was out on the ranch, and he found this debris. And he picked it all up in his pickup and was talking to people, and of course there was some talk about UFOs. He was going to Roswell, and as far as I know, he got in touch with the sheriff's department. They in turn called the Air Force.
Brazel, a rancher, the ranch had no electricity. He hadn't heard all these stories about flying saucers. There was a neighbor's young son visiting there because he liked to ride horseback with Mac. When Mac took him back to his home, the Porter family, he asked the neighbors to come out and see this stuff. He took some pieces with him. They handled it. They remember it. A Proctor family, Loretta Proctor.
The piece he brought up looked like kind of a tan, light brown plastic is what it looked like. We no plastic now. Back then we didn't have any plastic.
Finally, on July 6th, a Sunday, Mac decides to put some of the pieces
you heard it here, folks,
in the back of his pickup truck.
You heard it here first.
And go into Roswell.
They didn't have plastic.
He goes to the Sheriff Wilcox.
Aliens are real.
Tells the sheriff he's got this stuff. The sheriff looks at it, calls the base, the local Roswell Army airfield.
I asked him, do you think this is true? And he said, I don't know why Brazel would have come all the way in here and brought that stuff if it hadn't been something important, and that it had to be something that he thought.
It was a very special base. It was the home of the 509th Composite Bomb Group. That's the group that dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and out in the Pacific in 1946. Hand-picked officers, hand-picked men, high security, a very elite special group. Flying B-29s, the Cold War was already heating up at that time. The sheriff, by prearrangement, called the base, talks to the base intelligence officer, Major Jesse Marcel. There was a pre-existing arrangement to do that. Jesse checks with his boss, and Colonel Blanchard, base commander, head of the 509th, goes into town, looks at the stuff, realizes it is indeed very strange, gets instructions to go with the counterintelligence corps man. Remember, this is highly classified base, lots of highly classified activity in New Mexico. Take the counterintelligence corps man, Sheridan Cabot, with you, see what's going on out there.
The material that we saw, just the fact that whatever it caused it was just like whatever there, it was just vaporized.
Now, there was no way you could tell Jesse and Cabot how to get there. It was out in the boonies. They had to follow the rancher out there. Took their sleeping bags, stayed overnight, had a can of beans, as Jesse told me. The next morning, the rancher shows him this area, and Jesse's mystified.
One thing I was certain of, being familiar with all air activities, that it was not a weather balloon, nor an aircraft, nor a missile. It was something else of which we didn't know what it was. There were just fragments strewn all over the area, an area about 3/4 of a mile long and several hundred feet wide.
If there's all this wreckage, there had to be some kind of an explosion. He can't find a crater, so it must have happened in midair. They load 2 vehicles, an Army carryall and a Buick, with as much of this stuff as they can fit in. And there was lots of it left behind. And they head back toward town. It's late now. Jesse stops at home, wakes his wife and 11-year-old son, brings in some of the pieces of stuff to the kitchen table. They try to fit the pieces together to get some idea of how big this thing must have been.
There was black plastic-type debris like bakelite, which was shattered. It was very brittle material. And then there were fragments of what appeared to be I-beams.
And the son is important because he's now a medical doctor, Jesse Marcel Jr. He's a pilot. He's a flight surgeon. He served on military aircraft accident investigative teams, was himself shot down in Southeast Asia. He knows wreckage. He has never seen anything like it, including those strange symbols.
Well, the most unusual part of this whole thing was what was on the I-beam, on the inner surface of the I-beam. Because as you look at it head-on, there appeared to be a type of writing.
Well, Jesse goes into the base the next morning, and Colonel Blanchard gives 2 orders. One is to Jesse, get one of the B-29 crews to take you and this stuff up to Wright Field in Ohio. It's now Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. All the base names changed when the Air Force became a separate body in September '47, after this took place. Make a stop at our headquarters. The 509th was part of the 8th Air Force, which was part of the Strategic Air Command, then headquartered in Washington, in the Washington, D.C. area. 8th Air Force headquarters was in Fort Worth, Texas, and that's right on the way to Ohio.
I was in that operations office, and Colonel Blanchard drove up and came in and asked, is the aircraft ready? And I and one other fellow there, who was now dead, said, yes, it's sitting right out front, ready to go.
The second order he gave was to the base public information officer, a man named Walter Hout, to put out a press release announcing that they'd recovered the wreckage of one of these flying discs that people had been seeing for 2 weeks.
Got the telephone call from Colonel Blanchard, and in essence, he told me that he had in his possession a flying saucer, or parts thereof. Gave me a little bit of idea where it came from, and ranch northwest of Roswell.
Walter did that at about noon New Mexico time. He wrote the release on the commander's orders, took it to the 4 media outlets in town, 2 radio stations, 2 newspapers. One of them put it on the wire. It went out all over the world, and the phones didn't stop ringing in Roswell, at the sheriff's office, at the base, at the newspapers, at the radio stations. Calls from London, England, and all over the world. Meanwhile, Jesse's in a plane with some of the wreckage and a whole crew on the way to Fort Worth, Texas. Before they had even arrived there, then Colonel Thomas Jefferson Dubose, who was Chief of Staff to General Roger Ramey, head of the 8th Air Force, had already taken a call from Clements McMullen, the acting head of the Strategic Air Command in Washington, telling him in no uncertain terms, they knew each other, I want you to cover up that story. I don't care how you do it. I want you to send some of that wreckage up here with one of your...
I'm fine with either finishing this or hitting the bricks.
I don't want you ever to talk about it again, not even with
We're
your
30 minutes in, which I believe is halfway.
Air Force. That's an order. Do I need to put it in writing, Colonel? No, sir.
I'll give you 2 minutes to vote in this poll.
He took care of it by having the wreckage of a radar reflector from a weather balloon brought in. That's what it was. To his office, no less. Strange place to bring wreckage. The media guys are...
We haven't learned about Cosmic Watergate yet. Oh, it is approximately 84 minutes. Well, I'm for hitting the brakes.
The general says, we made a terrible mistake. It's not a flying disc or flying saucer at all. It's just a radar reflector from a weather balloon. What are you going to do with the wreckage, General? Oh, throw it out. What else? Now, the cover story went out about 5 o'clock, July 8th, 1947, Texas time. That was too late for the Eastern papers and even the Chicago paper. But that's why the Los Angeles paper has the original story and the cover.
Let's see if we can move forward a bit. Let's see how quickly this fast forwards. And see if we can catch him giving us some deets about the Cosmic Watergate. Like, is it... I really want to know what that means. I assume it's just Watergate being shorthand for cover-up. But I really want to know if, like, aliens actually broke into the Watergate Hotel on behalf of the Nixon campaign. In the meantime, get yourselves ready for Victor Borge, the lost episodes of a special collector's edition featuring vintage Borge at his very best, Volume 1. Let's stop it around here and just see what we got. From Stanton Friedman. Oh. Really? It does say approximately 84 minutes on the back of the box, and we're at 53. Maybe there's more. For more information, write to UFO Central Home Video. Maybe there's a secret conspiracy. The stuff they didn't want you to know. They had to put it on a hidden thing on the end of the tape. I bet if we just sit here, I bet if we wait, we'll find the true proof of UFOs. Or not. Victor Borge, in all his glory. It is Borge, right? In all his glory. Green Day, congrats on winning bingo. Let me just clear this tape, and Green Day rock 1,000 points. Congrats on winning bingo. Cool. Borge. Here's Victor Borge in all his glory. One-liners, crazy, yada, yada, yada. These are hilarious. It's never before released on home video. In Lost Episodes 1, his shampoo music, complete with bubble blower, and marvelous musical madness with the orchestra will bring tears to your eyes from laughter. What a great way of describing something funny. It will bring tears to your eyes from laughter. There's even classic Borge car commercials. Hey, y'all love funny car commercials, don't you? That's only part of the fun. This is Borge at his best in a video you'll treasure for years. And here we are. How many years later? 31. Treasuring it still. Victor Borge, The Lost Episodes, Volume 1. Let's check it out. There's still a tape in there. I have not... If you missed the beginning of the stream, I spent 10 minutes talking about the data that I want to be collecting on all the tapes to catalog things and yada yada. I am working on some tools to allow me to do that. Has the barber texted me? No. Still no barber text. Maybe I'll just go down there in person today. The Lost Episode and yell at him. Victor Borge, Volume 1.
Pontiac, on behalf of your authorized Pontiac dealer, presents Victor Borge's Comedy and Music. And now here is Victor Borge and his shampoo music.
never actually seen Victor Borge do his like comedy performances. I think I've seen him just play music straight, and he's a very good pianist. I do love Bubble Man. This is great. Oh, and it's only 45 minutes. I feel like we can vibe with this pretty well for 45 minutes. I'm going to keep working on my tape data entry tools.
Thank you very, very much, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pontiac Show. The gunshot you heard is the closest we can get to a Western. We wanted to make this a real Western show, but we tried it, and it is awfully difficult to play the piano on horseback, particularly during an Indian raid. So we kind of gave up that thought. I'd just like to tell you this. Put peanut butter in that sandwich, I think. That many entertainers are asked what kind of cigarettes to smoke, what kind of food to eat, and what to do and what to do. Nobody ever asks anybody what automobile they drive. And I'm very proud to say voluntarily that I drive, of course, a Pontiac. Not because I'm doing the Pontiac show, but I have been driving Pontiac for years. So I was very happy when they asked me to do the show because I'm so familiar. Even my children drive Pontiac. I have a little boy, he's 3.5 years old.
No word from the barber, no.
And a little girl who's 2 years old. And they have their own little Pontiac they drive, and you can see it on the screen there, I think. That's it. They're driving their little Pontiac. A little electric.
I love how this Pontiac ad is. The sponsorship was so effective.
In the foreground, but,
this Pontiac deal, this Pontiac ad is coming to us like 70 years later, intact.
I'd like to show you a picture
even though Pontiac no longer exists.
If I may, just for a second. It's one of the four-door jobs, you know. This is my present Pontiac.
They haven't made a Pontiac in 14 years.
Of course, the bad thing about it is my wife is in it. This is my brother. But come spring, we will fix it. Fortunately, though, I have the car right here on stage, the one I drove in across the street. We have a garage across the street, and here it is. And this is actually the 1958 model of the Pontiac. It's a lovely car, and the motor, I am crazy about the motor. Man, it's gone. There it is. I told you it was gone, but nevertheless, now I can understand why they put the steering wheel in the rear. Well, it might be my mistake. May I borrow a hand anyway? I just wanted you to show this car. I like this car because when I put a hand on the front light here, it reminds me of my plant manager at Vipo Farm.
This is so silly. I love it.
Well,
Simple but effective.
Pontiac as I do. And I'm very happy. Many people have wanted to be composers, and we all have a little feeling that we should compose, and we could if we only knew how. It isn't as difficult as you might think. Everybody thinks that we have to sit down all day long or sit up all night long. I don't know why you sit up at night and down at day time. It struck me. And wait for the inspiration. Many might do so, but the inspiration not always appears that way. I still have that lovely arrangement in my teeth. I would like to take you to the piano now and show you how a modern composer today composes a modern song hit. He will have on the piano a batch of music, some old, some new, all kinds of music, a pair of scissors, and some glue in a big bowl like this. And now, I would like to show you how to compose a song hit, we hope, in a jiffy. Let us take, for instance, Brahms on top here. Johannes Brahms, J. Brahms. There's a lively one. That's too slow. Tchaikovsky. Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky. This is something. That's a little too dangerous. Now, Schubert, Franz Schubert, the wonderful composer. He was a very poor composer. He wasn't a poor composer, he was a poor man. He was a fine composer, and here's his Serenade. Nate. I always have my glasses with me. You see, these are very lovely glasses. They're cut here like Benjamin Franklin's because I don't need glasses, so I can see over them when I look at them. But for now, I can get along without them anyway. That's a lovely theme, and nobody will know that. So we will cut out a little of this. That'll never be popular. You know, make it so that nobody will recognize it. Fine. Now we have a little glue here. Now, for our next edition, a little Debussy, Claude Debussy, the French composer by the same name. Claude Debussy, unfortunately, is dead, as you probably have heard. And I sincerely hope he is, because they buried him quite a few years ago. According to Ed Sullivan's column, of course. Incidentally, that also happened to Mrs. Debussy, I'm sorry to say. The whole family, gone. They were lovely people, fine people, but that's the way it goes. Well, I don't care, I have my own problems. I didn't even know them. But I happen to know a couple who live here in New York, an elderly couple who knew them very, very well. They were very close to them like this, and they've known them for years. And they have told me all about it. It's very interesting to hear people sit and talk about such greatness being so far remote from them, and they really knew them well. Lovely. They hated them. Knew them well. Debussy. No wonder. Now we have a little Shostakovich. Shostakovich. Just a moment. We'll find it. Now here's a little Mozart, the greatest of them all. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Before I play this, I would like to show you a collector's item I have here. Very few people, which is the same as many few people. We'll get into French in a minute. Envy me this little collection here. This, ladies and gentlemen, in this little box is the first note that Wolfgang Mozart ever wrote in his life. Isn't that the cutest thing? Can you see it? Well, it doesn't matter. It's here anyway. And this is a B. Think of that little cute Mozart. This is the first note he ever wrote. And here I have, in the other hand, or now in the same hand,
I love how dry this is.
the last note Mozart wrote.
He just has so much confidence
30 years in composing.
that even the stupidest jokes
I'm thrilled with these two things. The second note
can
is
land because of how the
This is
swagger
the last
that he's pulling off here.
Mozart ever wrote. In other words, I have from his first note to his last note. Actually, I don't think he went very far, do you? To ask my opinion. But it's interesting anyway. Here we have some Strauss. Abraham Strauss. Oh, that's the same thing that always happens when I play that number. This is a good one. This we will use. Where's my scissors? We will use this. Take the center out of it so we can make a little pause here. Yeah, we need some more of that, and here it is. Strauss, 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 Strauss. Yeah, we take a little random here, and a little random here, and a little random here. Now we need a finale. We'd like to take something from an opera, because whoever listens to that. As a matter of fact, my brother wrote an opera. It might not interest you to know, but this has nothing to do with the show, actually. But I have 3 brothers. Actually, I have 2.5 brothers. This might not interest you, and I've never spoken about them because they're way back in Denmark. I have 3 half-brothers, which is 1.5, and then 1 regular brother, which makes it 2.5. But these brothers, you know, he who used to be the tallest may soon be the smallest, because the one who used to be the smallest when he was little is little by little becoming the tallest. This is one of these things, you know, the row. And with the exception of the one we used to call the little one, because he was smaller than the tallest one when they were little. None of them were particularly tall when they were small. One of them is married, by the way, to a lovely wife. She is very wealthy. She owns a string of wishing wells. My brother was once arrested for impersonating a soldier. And that was embarrassing because he was in the army at that time. She's very cute, his wife. She's typically Danish, and her family, these strong-looking people, you know, red-faced and pot-bellied and wispy mustache. This lovely family. Even the men look funny in that family, you know. I think it's... I just made that up. Yeah. I have to play for you what we have here. Just a second, please. Oh, I need a B flat. Blue Daniel. Now we need the ending, and we will take the ending from any opera. Here's a nice thing from the opera Carmen. Last act. Here's what we have. Now I shall go over to the maestro and ask the orchestra to play it with me. This is the Blue Serenade by Schubert, isn't it? Yes, and the Blue Daniel by Strauss. We will put them together, play it as a waltz, and call it the Blue Serenade by Schubert. Here's your score, gentlemen. Get over here. When you're ready, maestro, we will play the Blue Serenade by Schubert.
Happened. This was my initial text to him yesterday. I initially said, hey, I just need to get a haircut at some point before this time. Do you have any appointments? And then I was like, maybe I should specify a specific time so that it's easier for him to look at his calendar. To kind of, you know, move the ball forward a little bit. Not be so vague and open-ended. Just be like, hey, yes or no question. And then finally he responded, Tuesday at 2? Hell yeah. We're doing it, baby. Tuesday at 2. Sure, I'll see you then. Boom. We did it. 24 hours is about his usual response time. All right, now I don't have to look like a slob at a wedding.
Thank you, Bambi Lynn and Rod Alexander. It was a lovely waltz you were dancing. Now I don't know what happens. Where is the stage manager? What comes next? Please, Joe, come.
Borge, yes.
Yeah. I'm all confused because they're rushing me, and what shall I do next?
Well, we are doing a commercial back there. It will take 3 minutes, Mr. Borge.
Oh, that leaves me 3 minutes. Can I practice a little bit at my piano? I'm playing the Chopin waltz, you know, and I never got it right.
There's a piano backstage.
Wonderful.
We have about 3 minutes.
Well, fine. Is he doing the commercial? Yeah, there he is. Well, thank you very much. I'll see you. Aren't you George Washington?
Yes, that's right.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. However, my birthday is until Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I won't be here Saturday. I'm sorry. Now, here's my... This is one of the most difficult waltzes Chopin ever wrote, and I never learned it. Pardon me, Mr. Boyer. Oh, yeah, but hurry up. I have to practice. That's a nice piece. Boy, my life, my wife likes that one. Still a difficult thing to do. Yes? Yeah, but hurry up. I only have a couple of minutes. Oh, look at this. Now, this always happens in the middle of the show. They put powder all over you. It is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
That got me.
I'm getting awfully dry. Mr. Stage Manager, can I have a drop of coffee or something?
Coffee, boy, please.
Yeah, let me have a drop of coffee. You know, rehearsing all day and then the show, you know, you just go crazy. Just a little drop of coffee. Do you have it? Yes. Thank you. Which one? Yes, thank you very much. You're my throat. How long time do we have yet?
You have about a minute, Mr. Borger. 1 more minute.
Yes?
May I please have your autograph?
Yes, only 1 minute. What's your name?
Butch.
Butch. How do you spell Butch? B? B-U-T-C-H. B like in Butch. Thank you so very much. Very, very much. Now, while I was playing and conducting this thing, I had a little opportunity to think. And it occurs to me that during my little off-stage rehearsal, a little fellow came in about this size, and he played pretty well piano. Can we get him? Is he still here?
Mr. Ruskin, please.
Oh, hello. How are you? Would you have a seat, please? There isn't much to sit down. For you, I mean, I have to sit further down. You just sit down a little. What is your full name?
Abbott Lee Ruskin.
Abbott Lee Ruskin. How old are you?
12.
12 what?
12 years old.
Oh. You married? Not yet. Well, have you ever given a concert? Have you ever played in public?
No, I haven't.
You haven't. But you are studying piano. I can hear from your touch that you must be pretty accomplished. Would you like to play for the audience here?
I'd love to.
You would? Well, then you must be pretty good. I hate to because I'm the worst. You know, you have never been on a concert stage before? I have done it for years. And it takes a certain training, you know. You have to do the little tricks. You have to know quite a few things, and I'll show it to you. The simplest thing of... By the way, the pen you gave me is leaking. I'm giving you another pen here, which is not leaking. You see, I always keep it in this pocket here. You take this one, because when you put it in this pocket, it leaks in the other pocket, you see. That's one of those things. Now, you come over here, Abbott, and I'll show you. You walk on the stage with an air of superiority. Like this. As if you know what you were going to play. Then you bow toward the audience. Please follow me now. You bow way down. Try that, please. No, you bow from the waist, from here up.
Well, Mr. Borge, if I bow from here up, I'll have nothing to bow with.
Well, how many fingers do you have? Because I'm not going to ask any more questions. 10. You'll be just as good as Benno Mosevich or Paderewski or all the great ones. Now you bow to the audience. You sit down. You lift your hand to demand quiet, right? Invariably, somebody will cough. You put your hand down, wait till they have coughed their head off, till they have coughed the nut, and then you try it again, right? This is a Steinway. Do you play Steinway?
Of course.
Of course, I'm happy to hear that. This piano was made by Steinway and Sons this afternoon. This is very lovely. The whole family work on it. Normally, there are 88 keys on the piano, but this has 89 because one of the sons is a little off. Now you can fix yourself up a little in the mirror there if you wish before the concert. That's very simple. And now you're ready to play. And what are you going to play?
Weber's Concertstück.
Weber's Concertstück. Now, this is the thing I've been waiting for to hear for years. And now, I will take you over to our set, which we call the concert hall. And, ladies and gentlemen, Abbott Lee Ruskin will now come and play for you the Concertstück by Carl Maria... Maria, that's a female name, isn't it? Carl von Weber and his sister Maria. I guess that's I give you now Abbott Lee Ruskin. Ladies and gentlemen, in Concertstück by Weber.
Yeah, this whole tape is sensible chuckle, and I'm really here for that. And then this is great. Sensible chuckle and then good musical performances. Bravo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Milton.
Hooray, more Pontiac ads.
In a moment, we're going to witness a debut performance. Mr. Victor Borge conducting the big, bold Pontiac in a sweet,
This
smart motor.
bald-headed musical fucker will sell you this Pontiac.
Making his entrance, he pauses to greet the Pontiac dealer, bows to the audience. Mr. Borge has checked the score. The melodic lines of Pontiac's new direction styling, keynoted by the widest selection of the world's finest finish, lustrous lucite lacquer, the color-matched top-grain leather upholstery, one of 60 interior trim options. This whole symphony of Pontiac advantages at no extra cost. And now, Mr. Borge takes his place in the big, bold Pontiac. The first movement is aptly called Allegro e Acceleroso, which makes other cars seem oh so. Just glissando from the toe.
This is actually, as car commercials go, I'm loving this car commercial.
Turns sharp grades into diminished flats.
I was just thinking about Ralph Williams.
The gently flowing second movement, Legato e Dolce, starts with a buoyant floating ride, lyric in character that continues to dominate even over the most staccato roads. This is augmented here by the harmonious new Pontiac ever-level air ride that floats you along on air. Mr. Borge terminates the movement with soft pedal smoothness. Pitch is completely controlled. After a brief horn passage, we are introduced to an intricate series of sharp and flat contrapuntal turns. Mr. Borge displays the stability of Pontiac's new aeroframe, which virtually eliminates sway and vibrato. The dynamic balance and crisp precision of control and cornering provide a triumphant expression of Pontiac's grandissimo superiority. And now Mr. Borge climaxes the work with a final burst of enthusiasm. And we hear the joyful conclusion. Pontiac is America's #1 instrument for the road. For driving pleasure that will be sweet music to your ears, arrange for a test drive without obligato at your Pontiac dealers.
Without obligato.
Unfortunately, we went in so fast to the commercial that the people at home didn't hear the ovation that little Abbott D. Ruskin got here after his presentation of the piano, and I wish that you would once again show your appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, I've so often been asked to play this number all the way straight through. What that means, I don't know, straight through all the way or something like that. We have now chosen to play the 18th variation by Rachmaninoff of a theme by Paganini. And we hope you will like it.
I Googled Abbott Lee Ruskin. It seems like he peaked in terms of popularity as a child pianist. But he may have had a successful career as an adult, I don't know. Yay. That's quite a beautiful piece. I've always liked it, even though I don't remember its name.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, everything comes to an end, and this is it. On behalf of my sponsor, myself, I wish to thank you for spending this precious hour of yours with us. I have a carload of rock Cornish hens sitting outside waiting. I have to take them to Denver tonight. This is what we had to offer. Some laughs, smiles, some giggles, some sneezes, some snoozes, some coughs. And when once in a while a handkerchief comes out to wipe away a tear from laughter, that is my reward. The rest goes to the government. I wish to extend thanks to my father and my mother who made this show possible. And I wish to extend thanks to my 5 children who made it necessary. I hate to say goodbye.
Such a classic
become so well acquainted.
brand of humor.
And I hope that we shall meet again. It might be a little early to determine where or when, but next time it might be in your neighborhood, your home, in space, on a satellite, or on the moon, who knows? All the scientists are concentrating on getting to the moon, but with the climate we have now, I wish somebody would try to get us closer to the sun. So until next, not goodbye, but auf Wiedersehen.
Hey, Victor Borge. Oh, that's an abrupt ending. Copyright 1992, Borge Productions. All right. Oh, they could have showed us the original credits. That was really great. I hope that survives the VOD. Yeah. He was clowning, but he had the talent. You know, the clear musical talent to back it up. Back in those days, you had to do something. You had to be good at something to be famous. I tell you what. Now famous people don't do anything except be famous. Kids these days. Yeah, Abbott Lee Ruskin's performance was quite good. So, okay. Should we forge ahead with Canada? I feel like we haven't had Canada in a while. This is Canada, the Undiscovered Land, a 3-tape box set. Starting off, this is from Reader's Digest, starting off with Canada, the Undiscovered Land. The Reader's Digest travel documentaries, I quite like them. This is produced... Well, actually, I mean, they vary quite a lot. They have a lot of different series that they publish under the Reader's Digest label. This particular presentation is produced by Good Earth Productions of Toronto. So we will see. We will see how it is. Canada, the Undiscovered Land, the mysterious North, from Atlantic to the Saint Laurent, from our homeland's eastern edge down the basin of our mighty. Oh, sorry, this is written by a Canadian. From our homeland's eastern edge down the basin of our mightiest river. You can tell I don't know the difference between Ontario and Illinois. Gasp at the awesome tides of the Bay of Fundy. Observe the magical dance of white belugas and fin whales along the surface of the Saguenay River. Cross the gigantic fjords of Newfoundland's tablelands. explore the Witless Bay Islands, the glamorous nesting grounds of millions of seabirds. Tour Lunenburg, the one-time home of the fastest schooner afloat, etc., etc. Lunenburg, one of my favorite Canadian musical artists is from Lunenburg. He sings a lot about the Canadian Maritimes, like New Brunswick and the unique New Brunswick culture. His name is Joel Plaskett. Great Canadian artist. Canada, the undiscovered land from Atlantic to... Oh, you know Joel? Ah, man. His album 3, it's 3 discs. Each disc has 9 songs, and they're like written sort of groups of 3. That's one of my favorite albums. It's great. It's worth a listen. And some of his newer stuff is really good too. I'm not as big into his like solo acoustic kind of repertoire, but the poppy stuff I really dig. Canada, the undiscovered land, Atlantic to St. Lawrence. Let's dig into it. I'm still dealing with tape code, so I'll keep forging ahead with that, and we will watch Canada. Here we go. Canada, the undiscovered land. I'm ready for the Reader's Digest intro graphic. That's what I'm ready for. With like the cool synth music and the Pegasus. Come on now, Reader's Digest. Come on now, Reader's Digest. You can do it. Yay. Oh, it's the old one. Well, fine. Canada.
This is the threshold of a vast land. Its ancient rocks are abraded by the harshest of winds and buffeted by relentless seas. This is Canada's east coast. Once the heartbreak of brave mariners, it is still a place where few people venture. Yet in the Arctic, the native Inuit understand and celebrate its riches. For them, the caribou are manna from heaven. To the south lies Newfoundland, jutting far out into the Atlantic. Its rock formations bear silent witness to the collision of continental plates. This is the New World, where European explorers once raised stone fortresses surrounded by untamed wilderness. It is a place steeped in history and tradition, from its citadels to quaint fishing villages, where shipwrights once built the fastest schooners ever to grace the North Atlantic. Canada's east coast, where thousands of migrating sandpipers demonstrate formation flying. A rare plover runs a race against extinction. And whales feed in the nutrient-rich waters of the bays and estuaries. It is here, along these bold coastlines, that marine and land mammals take advantage of more than a tenth of the world's remaining wilderness. The island of Newfoundland is separated from the mainland by the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the Strait of Belle Isle. On its eastern edge is Witless Bay, home to the largest colony of Atlantic puffins in North America. On Newfoundland's west coast is Gross Moor National Park.
I forget, are
designated
puffins
by UNESCO as a
are
World
puffins
Heritage
delicious
Site
or
because of
not
its unique
delicious?
geology. And almost 1,500 kilometers north, in the village of Kimmeroot, inspired Inuit stone carvers create fine art for galleries in the south. Arctic winds scour this barren plateau on Baffin Island's south coast. Even in summer, the snow does not melt, and temperatures hover just above freezing. The landscape is rough and rugged, dotted by huge boulders, the remnants of mountains annihilated by massive glaciers. This is typical of an Arctic environment, but what lies just ahead is anything but. The Inuit call this place Katanalik, or the place of waterfalls. Meltwater from the surrounding plateau cascades into a valley that is lush and verdant. The Soper Valley follows the course of the Soper River, which finally empties into the Hudson Strait. This deep valley ensures a relatively warm microclimate. Coupled with almost 24 hours of daylight in high summer, the valley's temperatures can rise 5 or 10 degrees centigrade above that of neighboring valleys. Not surprisingly, this Arctic oasis acts as a magnet for wildlife. The Soper Valley has become a gathering place for Arctic wolves, peregrine falcons, and caribou. The 2,000 caribou on Baffin Island are remarkably hardy, and they have provided food and clothing for generations of Inuit. Caribou bone and sinew have also been used for tools and weapons. One of the mysteries of the Baffin Island herd is that unlike mainland caribou, Baffin caribou do not undertake long overland migrations. Instead, they circulate exclusively throughout South Baffin. Their ancient trails are visible on eskers and the valley floor.
This is yet another series of Canada
Baffin
tapes.
caribou have another distinctive characteristic.
Tapes about the
They prefer
natural
to
beauty of
forage on their
Canada
own.
with
It
very
is unusual to see
sultry
caribou in groups of
narrator
2 or more,
voices.
except in the autumn when the dominant males assemble harems of cows. Their solitary quests for food make the caribou an easier target for Arctic wolves. The remnants of their predation on caribou are everywhere. Soper Valley's steep rock walls provide habitat for an impressive predator. High on the cliff face overlooking the Soper River, 2 peregrine falcons take turns guarding the nest and hunting. Like most birds in the area, these falcons are migratory and may come from as far away as South America to spend their breeding season in the valley. While here, they will feed almost exclusively on other birds. Perfectly camouflaged against the cliff face, the falcons patiently survey their domain and strike whenever prey comes close. Or the powerful birds take to the air, riding thermals to 1,500 meters or more, and dive on their victims at speeds which can exceed 200 kilometers an hour. The Soper River ends its meandering journey near the quaint town of Kimmeroot, a community of 400 people nestled on the shores of picturesque Glasgow Inlet. The name Kimmeroot means heel, and across from the town lies the heel-shaped outcrop for which the community was named. Evidence of the Arctic's highest tides can be seen in the town's harbor, where water levels fall by 10 meters or more, stranding huge chunks of sea ice. The sun and sea combine to shape the ice into massive sculptures that beautify the inlet before they slowly melt back into the sea. It seems fitting that man should imitate nature. Most of Kimmeroot's residents are carvers, and they have created a cottage industry. Nalonik Temela has been carving for 45 years and works only with custom hand tools. The skills that he and other carvers possess were born of necessity and based on an ancestral part of life.
The Inuit made tools out of bones and made tools for hunting. That's what we used to do. That's why we are good carvers. People started carving other things because they didn't want to just sit around. They wanted to improve their skills and keep themselves busy.
Nalonik's sculptures have received national and international attention. This is one of many dancing bears that Nalonik has painstakingly produced over the last few years. It will soon go to a Toronto art gallery. Despite a long and successful career, Nalonik still needs to make a living.
We purchase things such as snowmobiles or boats from the money that we make carving, and I buy other supplies. Everything from guns, food, our house rent. We use the money we get from carving to pay all of our bills. It's expensive to live up here, and carving is our only source of income.
Icebergs are formed when thick Arctic glaciers push slowly into the sea. Huge pieces split off the ends of the advancing glaciers and sweep south.
That's fine. That still gave. Thank you for the cheer. That still gives you 200 fun points, so you can just run the ghost command.
The first Europeans seeing the iceberg's floating majesty for the first time described them as the color of silver, hard as marble, and of the clearest crystal. Newfoundland must endure not only the southbound polar ice pack, but also some of the world's most violent storms. Yet the west coast of Newfoundland is hauntingly beautiful. The changing light gives the rugged seascapes a quality that turns from serene to grim. The geology in this area is profoundly important. In 1973, Canada created Gros Morne National Park to protect this rare display of the Earth's upheavals. 10,000 years ago, glaciers covered these mountains, grinding them down. When they melted, they took most of the island's topsoil to the bottom of the sea. The release of the land from the weight of the ice caused it to rebound or rise, separating the fjords from the ocean and creating freshwater lakes. Masters of understatement, the Newfoundlanders call these impressive lakes ponds.
Whisper.
The rock in Gros Morne has solved a geological riddle. It is a rare rock from deep within the Earth that confirms the theory of plate tectonics, in which continents do not stay put, but move about on the surface of the Earth's fiery liquid core. Gross Morn is a geological battleground more than 350 million years old, where the North American, African, and Eurasian continents met each other with enormous force, creating a 4,000-kilometer mountain range and uncovering rock from beneath the ocean floor. After many thousands of years of glaciation and erosion, what remains of this continental collision here is the Long-Range Mountains. These include an odd-looking plateau called the Tablelands. This unusual formation is made up of a rock called peridotite from the Earth's upper mantle, whereas most mountains are made from the Earth's crust, a layer of rock closer to the Earth's surface. Scientists have concluded only a gigantic collision could have brought this rare formation to the surface. In 1768, under an English flag, Captain James Cook sailed into Newfoundland waters. Much of the island was considered uninhabitable by early explorers because of its steep cliffs and rugged interior. However, on the southeast coast, it is the rock itself that makes an ideal habitat for 2 million seabirds. Steep cliff faces and the nutrient-rich currents which churn at their base make the islands of Witless Bay a prime area for seabirds to breed. For most of the 10 species that come to Witless Bay, the summer months spent at their nests will be their only contact with land. The birds of Witless Bay have a colonial and cooperative society. Birds of the same species will find food in large groups, diving for capelin and other saltwater delicacies. They also construct their nests in large colonies, knowing that there is safety in numbers. Such cramped quarters may not offer much privacy, but their closeness affords better protection against other more aggressive species. The hierarchy of the colonies is anything but random. Kittiwakes occupy lower levels. Above them are razorbill auks and common murres. The puffin burrows are found in tussocks of grass at the higher elevations and are looked down on by the colony's predators, herring and black-backed gulls. Newfoundland is home to 95% of North America's Atlantic puffins, and 500,000 of them nest here. Their colorful beaks and distinctive flight make them the province's most recognized inhabitants.
If you look at the puffins here in flight, you'll see that they have a really rapid wing beat, and so they have really a relatively difficult time flying. And the reason is that their wing is really a compromise for flying in air and flying underwater. And they probably fly at about the same speed underwater that they do in the air, and they fly fast enough underwater to catch capelin and other fish. So it's really curious. It's the puffin, the murre, the razorbill, basically all have that basic constraint in their flight physiology.
Newfoundland's climate and coastline may have proved uninviting to the first Europeans, but the coves and beaches of Canada's other Atlantic provinces proved welcoming. soldiers, fishermen, and farmers put down roots from the south shore of Nova Scotia to the north shore of Prince Edward Island. The red soil and storybook landscape around Cavendish, Prince Edward Island is home to the fictional Anne of Green Gables. To the southwest, New Brunswick's Bay of Fundy has served both as a testing ground for mariners and a refuge for whales. And in Nova Scotia, the past meets the present in the famous shipyards of Lunenburg, the stone fortress of Louisbourg, and the rich Acadian forests of Cape Breton.
Yay, Nova Scotia. They don't call it New Scotland for nothing.
Came to Cape Breton early in the 19th century to escape high rents and poor crops in their native land. They joined the French Acadians, who despite expulsion in 1755 had begun to trickle back to their old homes. After 2 centuries, these 2 displaced peoples still cling to the cultures they brought with them. Cape Breton's Acadians have borrowed a Gaelic word from their Scottish neighbors to describe their musical celebration. This is a Cayley, Acadian style.
I also find the Canadian Maritimes really interesting because it's where the Cajuns came from, i.e. were expelled from when the goddamn English decided to do some little bit of light ethnic cleansing. So it's just really interesting to see the antecedents of like the culture of New Orleans in Canada. Just a little, just a touch.
Located on the northeastern tip of Nova Scotia, this peaceful retreat was sighted and identified in 1497 by one of the first European explorers, John Cabot. On his chart, he named it Primavera Vista. It's easy to see why the great inventor Alexander Graham Bell, who died at his nearby home in 1922, felt so strongly about this place. He wrote,
I've seen the Canadian and American Rockies, the Andes and the Alps, and the Highlands of Scotland. For simple beauty, Cape Breton outrivals them all.
Cape Breton's natural splendor was protected forever with the establishment of the Cape Breton Highlands National Park in 1936. At that time, the automobile was emerging as the most popular means of travel for the touring public, and a winding local highway was re-engineered to create the Cabot Trail. The world-famous auto route offers breathtaking views of the coastline before it plunges deep into the Acadian forest. Rolling banks of fog and towering maples, birch, and spruce trees combine to provide excellent cover for Nova Scotia's largest land mammal. Indiscriminate hunting practices eliminated all the moose from Cape Breton Island by the 1900s. But 18 of the deceptively ungainly-looking animals were successfully reintroduced in the late 1940s. Without any real predator, they have thrived here, and their population now numbers just under 2,000.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know I was muted. I was saying I should make a command for Nova Scotia's largest land mammal.
Of wolves have also helped the herds of white-tailed deer to
flourish just picks a
in the
random
Acadian
animal
forest. There are few better places in the world to appreciate the pageantry of a forest shutting down for the winter. As the days grow shorter and the temperature falls, the trees can no longer make chlorophyll so easily. The green hue fades from the leaves, unmasking their true colors, and the highlands are transformed into a tapestry of rich color. The town of Lunenburg is just an hour's drive west of Nova Scotia's economic center, Halifax. But it's a world away from the hustle and bustle of a modern city. Lunenburg is a living architectural museum. Its streets are lined with historic houses that date back to the mid-1700s, when the first European immigrants of German, Swiss, and French origin settled here. Within the Old Town district, there are about 400 heritage buildings still standing, nearly two-thirds of which date from the 19th century or earlier. The distinctive architecture and superior craftsmanship has withstood the test of time. It wasn't long before some of the carpenters and joiners who crafted these buildings turned their hands to shipbuilding. Hundreds of vessels were built in the town's shipyards to be used on the Grand Banks and other offshore fishing grounds. By the late 1800s, the deep-sea fleet here numbered almost 150 schooners. A schooner needed to be fast so that her skipper could get his catch back to market quickly and get the best prices. Because their ships were built for speed, it was inevitable that Lunenburg fishermen would be drawn into friendly competition with others, especially their neighbors in New England. History was made in Lunenburg in 1921 with the launching of the Bluenose. Within a year, she became the fastest schooner afloat, the Queen of the North Atlantic. The Bluenose was almost unbeatable. She captured the holy grail of sailing, the International Fisherman's Trophy, every year but two during the next 2 decades of racing. The Bluenose was captained by Angus Walters. Walters was Lunenburg's most successful fishing captain.
In 1926, I was one of the crew of that famous ship and famous captain. There's no question there isn't another captain that could do the things that that man done. And with the ship that he had, they were same as brothers and sisters. No question about it. He could talk to that thing.
The Bluenose's likeness appeared on everything from postage stamps to pop bottles, and in 1937, in full sail, she showed up on the Canadian dime. Her racing days over, the Bluenose was sold and eventually lost on a reef off Haiti in 1946.
Has the shekel seated into the thimble? Okay, just muzz it where it is.
She was never forgotten in Lunenburg, though, and in 1963, in the same shipyard that gave birth to the original, an exact replica was built and was launched as Bluenose 2.
Well, to me, Bluenose represents a point in history where here in Lunenburg and in Nova Scotia, we were the best at designing, building, fishing, and racing large wooden schooners, and proved that time and time again by beating the Americans at schooner racing, and also by landing tremendous amounts of fish at the time. I mean, that's when cod was king, and Bluenose held a record at the time of bringing in the largest catch of fish ever recorded. And that's what this vessel represents, that period in history. I'm very proud of that.
The cold waters of the Bay of Fundy separate Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Everything that lives around the bay is influenced by its towering tides. With each outgoing tide, about 100 cubic kilometers of water flows out of the bay, roughly equal to the entire daily discharge of all the world's rivers combined. When the tides recede, they reveal nearly 15 meters of towering rock formations that only hours ago were mostly submerged. All along the eastern seaboard, whalers risk their boats and often their lives pursuing whales. Beginning with the Basques in the 16th century, one of the whalers' favorite targets was the right whale, so named because it was slow-moving and floated after it had been harpooned. It is possible that only a few hundred of the 200,000 northern rights were spared the harpoon. In 1980, 3 American biologists in the Bay of Fundy were astounded to find a number of right whales, perhaps the last of the once great northern right whale population. Since then, a conservation zone has been established for them in the middle of the bay. Scientists are encouraged by scenes like this, a courtship ritual, an event rarely ever recorded. The group contains perhaps 18 males and 1 or more females, a significant percentage of the northern right whale population when you consider that just over 300 now survive. These gigantic creatures measure from 10 to 20 meters long, weighing as much as 100 tons. The males rub the whole of their long flanks against the object of their affection and jockey to be in the right place when a white-bellied female rolls over into the breeding position. The air is filled with the sound of their massive lungs, filling and emptying. If there is a successful mating, a single calf will be born a year from now, measuring 5 meters in length. The northern right whales were given global protection in 1937. To date, 350 have been photo-identified, and researchers are conducting DNA tests. results have traced only 3 matrilineal patterns. This may mean the entire present population is descended from only 3 females. The conservation zone in the Bay of Fundy may be their best hope for survival. Nova Scotia's rich history comes to life in the recently restored fortress of Louisbourg, a living monument to life in New France in the 18th century. It grew into one of the busiest ports in the New World, rivaling both Boston and Charleston. Ultimately, Louisbourg was demolished by the British, but from 1713 to 1758, it was a thriving commercial and military colony of 4,000 people.
The lifespan of Louisbourg is so defined with the 45 years almost of French occupation, but it takes on qualities of sort of an epic in that it's founded at a particular point in time, it thrives and comes to great prosperity, then fate comes along and deals it one blow, and then it resurges for another decade, and then it's destroyed again. And then 200 years pass by and almost nothing happens here. And then after the 2 centuries sleep, Phoenix-like, it emerges once again.
Louisbourg is the largest historical reconstruction in Canada. Work on the site began in the 1960s. It was carried out under the close supervision of a team of experts and artisans. But even their combined efforts would have failed without the meticulously detailed records left behind by the fort's original builders.
The French left behind a massive documentation. There's about 750,000 pages of documents, court records, parish records, official correspondence, and many other kinds of documents. Those documents are what allowed us to reconstruct Louisbourg, and they're what reveal sort of a window on life in the 18th century as the French lived here.
Using the documentation and architectural records, historians, architects, and archaeologists join forces with builders and a wide variety of craftspeople to recreate every single detail of the original fort, from massive gates to the nuts and bolts that held them together.
From knives, forks, cutlery, furniture, just about anything you could think of that you would use inside of a home in the 18th century, they have to be made somewhere. You can't buy them at Walmart or Kmart.
McIsaac has to adopt the creative mindset of his 18th century predecessor.
So what he did was an outcome of procedure. He'd lengthen it, he shaped it, then he twisted it around a certain way and hammered it a certain way to get to it. But when I do it, I have to match what he did. So it's the difficulty is, if he made a mistake, I have to make the same mistake to make it in the same way. And that's the difficult part of doing reproductions.
Prince Edward Island is separated from mainland Canada by more than just water. It has a unique island way of life, geared to a more peaceful state of mind. No one on the island lives very far from the lulling rhythms of the sea, and during the summer, islanders flock to the fine sand beaches along the North Shore. But for many, it is the spirit of a turn-of-the-century author, Lucy Maud Montgomery, and her first novel called Anne of Green Gables that makes the island special. Montgomery immortalized this gentle landscape on the pages of her charming stories. And in doing so, she created nothing less than a shrine. The writer's inventive mind gave birth to Anne Shirley, the irrepressible redhead who made Prince Edward Island and Green Gables important to millions of readers. Although the farmhouse where Lucy Maud Montgomery spent portions of her life actually belongs to the author's cousin, it has been lovingly restored. The house is now part of Prince Edward Island National Park. Their curators and historians have filled each room with antiques from the last century to represent the fictional house described in her books. The Green Gables stories have struck an unexpected and romantic chord in Japanese readers. Every summer, couples come from halfway around the world just to be married at the picture postcard home.
How you doing, Tom? Good, how are you? Oh, not too bad. My God, it's hot today, isn't it?
Prince Edward Island is picturesque, and no one idealized it more than Lucy Maud Montgomery. Her pen transformed a simple cowpath into Lover's Lane, and a farm pond became her lake of shining waters. Lucy Maud Montgomery possessed great appreciation for nature, and she often documented the real beauty of PEI in her journals. She wrote of sun-dappled streams and the lupins dancing in the wind by the sea, or of grasses ablaze at the rim of a pond late in the day, and the sun setting as the waves rolled into a glistening beach. And she wrote about lovely walks. In her journals, she felt no need to embroider the island's natural beauty. Also within Prince Edward Island National Park is one of the finest examples of sand dune ecology in the eastern seaboard. Change is constant, and it is choreographed by the wind and waves, forces that cannot be denied. The ocean pounds against the sandstone cliffs, eroding them and breaking them down into countless grains of sand. When the wind blows on shore, it picks up grains of sand and adds them to the constantly evolving dunes. If it were not for the spreading roots of the delicate-looking marram grass, gales and high tides would destroy their own creations, the dunes. And Prince Edward Island, already Canada's smallest province, would lose even more of itself to the sea. In the shadow of the dunes is one of the most endangered small birds in the world. Only 2,500 piping plovers are known to have survived. This breeding pair is one of 14 nesting on the island, fully protected by Prince Edward Island National Park. In sharp contrast to the tranquil beauty of PEI are the brooding and mysterious monoliths of the Mingan Archipelago, which guard the northern reaches of the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The archipelago can be found on the north shore of the St. Lawrence, across from Quebec's Anticosti Island. On the south shore are the limestone cliffs of the Gaspé Peninsula. Together they guard the entrance to the mighty St. Lawrence, which reaches deep into the heart of the continent. Not far from the river's mouth is the town of Tadoussac, perhaps the best place in North America to see beluga whales. The St. Lawrence River pours more fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean than any other river in Canada. And its economic importance to major cities on the Great Lakes makes it a major waterway. The cool, clear waters of the Saguenay River flow south from Lac Saint-Jean, meeting the St. Lawrence at Tadoussac. Where the two lines of water merge, there is turbulence. This stirs up a nutritious broth that creates an ideal feeding ground for whales. Tadoussac, long a fishing village and trading post, used first by Aboriginal people and then by European settlers, began to change in the middle of the last century when it was discovered by wealthy merchants from Montreal. They built the Tadoussac Hotel, and it is still the town's focal point. The still quaint retreat has become one of North America's best places to see the seasonal migration of fin whales, who every summer feed on a shrimp-like crustacean known as krill, Norwegian for whale food. But it is the smaller, more docile beluga whale that has caught the attention of scientists. Robert Michaud began studying the basic biology of beluga whales in the 1980s after a colleague conducted a routine autopsy on one washed up on a beach. The post-mortem revealed that the whale's tissue contained high levels of industrial contaminants. Now Michaud and others are trying to determine what lasting effects the contaminants have had on the whales and their reproductive capacity. Like the fin whales, the belugas were hunted commercially. In the 1930s, in an effort to protect the cod fishery, the government of Quebec actually offered a $15 bounty for every dead beluga. Some 2,000 were killed, but conservationists won their battle in the 1970s when commercial slaughter was outlawed. In 1983, the St. Lawrence belugas were classified as an endangered species. From a high of 5,000, only 500 remain.
We suspect that there are some severe limiting factor to the recovery of the population. The pollution is one suspected, but also habitat disturbance. So it's the reason why we want to gather as much information on where they live and how they live to be able to build a protection strategy for them. What is important to protect in their habitat to make sure that they have a good chance to recover from that intensive hunt.
Belugas get their name from the Russian word for white. Born gray, they don't turn white until the age of 6. Unlike most whales, they have well-defined and flexible necks, allowing them to turn their heads. Although small for whales, they can grow to more than 5 meters in length and can weigh more than a ton.
These animals behave like intelligent animals. They have curiosity and they come to see you quite often, and they don't gain something specific by that exchange. It's not like caribou that comes to you and feed in your hand. These animals just come and play around your boat. So this free exchange gives them some kind of aura that I like.
About a third of the water from the St. Lawrence River flows past the haunting rock formations of the Mingan Archipelago. The archipelago consists of more than 900 small islands strung out along the north shore of the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Many of them have strange-looking limestone monoliths shaped naturally by wind and wave. Standing 6 meters high along the edges of dark boreal forests, they are reminders of the geological evolution that formed the Mingan Archipelago. "500 million years ago, this fossil-rich limestone was sea bottom. 280 million years ago, ever so slowly, the Mingan Islands began to rise above the waves. Much more recently, 20,000 years ago, during the last ice age, 2.5 kilometers of ice and snow covered the archipelago. The enormous weight caused the islands to sink again. 10,000 years ago, as the planet began to warm, the ice melted, and the islands gradually rebounded from the sea. The rock that re-emerged first now stands beside ancient beaches, meters inland. With the help of erosion and continued rising, these flat slabs will one day be high above the water as new monoliths, and the sea and the wind will carve out new arches and new cliffs. On the south side of the Gulf, across the mouth of the St. Lawrence, is the Gaspé Peninsula. Here too, the sea has created a dramatic shoreline and defines life for the plants and animals that live on or near it. Just as it did in every other part of Canada's east coast, the sea sustained early settlers on the Gaspé. In the early 1600s, fishermen from France sailed across the Atlantic every summer to fish these rich waters. At Grand Grave, the water was deep enough for large ships to anchor. The fishermen caught huge quantities of cod, which they salted and spread out on flakes to dry. Gaspé recipes using salt cod were savored in France and Italy, where the dried fish was sent by the shipload. Cod was so important to this area that it was currency for both fishermen and merchants. When William Hyman arrived at Grand Grave from Russia, he set up a store where cod could buy necessities like staple foods and clothing, and luxuries like bananas and peppermints. When Forillon National Park was created in 1974, the government expropriated 200 farms. Now these overgrown fields provide rich forage for the black bears that come here to eat the ripening berries. Only slightly bigger than a large dog, Gaspé bears are small and light enough to climb even the slenderest trees. Under the protection of the national park, the limestone cliffs of places like Cap Bon-Ami are now the exclusive domain of birds and marine mammals. Every year in winter and spring, the limestone contracts and expands, cracking the cliff face and creating ledges for nesting seabirds. More than 220 species of seabirds have made a home on Cap Bon-Ami. Gannets, cormorants, razorbill auks, kittiwakes, and black guillemots live peacefully together. Most of the time. The same natural process that creates the ledges of a tiered society for the birds also serves the seal population down below. Large pieces of rock tumble onto the shore. The fallen slabs seen all along the coast make excellent haul-out sites for gray and harbor seals. But the seals know instinctively that being too close to the cliffs is dangerous. Even very small rocks can be lethal when they fall 200 meters to the ground. Colonies of harbor seals arrive in the spring, and the gray seals come later in mid-July. By summer's end, the seal population numbers more than 300. Awkward on land, the seals acquire grace and speed underwater. They feed on a rich variety of fish and crustaceans, delicacies like crab and lobster. The park's chief naturalist, Maxime Saint-Amour, dives these waters twice a week, examining the diverse wildlife populations thriving just a stone's throw from shore. Knowing that humpback whales like to feed close to shore, Saint-Amour heads to a cove where he hopes to see them at close range. Saint-Amour knows how to get their attention. Unlike most other whale species, humpbacks are not intimidated by boats. Suddenly, a 15-meter humpback, weighing approximately 40 tons, sweeps to the surface, then slides beneath the rubber boat. Humpbacks have the longest flippers of all whale species. This one is about 3 meters in length, almost as long as the boat.
Passing right under the boat.
We just saw a 45-ton humpback whale, and it just came so close to this boat. I can't believe that we had this chance. It was just swimming so close to the surface. We could see the large 3-meter-long flukes, but I never thought they'd be curious enough to come so close to this boat.
Just a few meters away, a black bear retraces his route to the cliff top after checking the shoreline for edibles that the sea might have washed in. Two more humpbacks head for open water. Eastern Canada is a subtle place. The East Coast's quiet beauty is a blessing for those looking to return to more natural rhythms. As a seabird rides the wind, so the spirit is borne aloft by the change of pace. At the end of the day, the sound of the surf becomes a mantra for meditation, and this undiscovered place has become known.
Oh, I was muted. That was Canada. The Canadian government paid for that to be made so that you could see the glory of their whales and moose. Oh, Canada. I'm going to see real quick if I can do a thing. I'm curious to see if I can make this work live. I have been working on a thing, so let's see. Browser source. This. CSS, don't do the background. Okay. Cool. Let me just, I really hate CSS. So let's see if I can fiddle with this to make it look good on this particular aspect ratio. What window is this? We want this to be bigger, but not that big. Okay, that's good. And maybe just a little bit more there. Okay, so I talked earlier in the stream about my need to tag. I basically want to go through the existing tapes and add, like, note where they're a part of a series, like Eyewitness or Kid Songs are one of the series that we've seen a lot of, so that I have the data to know how many tapes we've seen, how many tapes we haven't seen in that series, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of data entry involved in that whole process because we have like 800 tapes. So I really don't want to like go through and click on the little buttons or enter things manually in a spreadsheet little by little. So I've been, I made this little thing during today's stream. It's just a little page that makes it really fast and easy for me to navigate through the tapes so that I can do, enter whatever data I end up needing to enter. And I did this with like a keyboard interface. So I can hit G and go to a particular tape, like tape 500. I can also hit F to search for tapes. So we can do like donut, and then this will let me just scroll through all the matches very quickly for donut, which in this case is Donut Man. And then, so this is like I'm trying to make a super quick workflow for like tagging tapes like this. So I can set a tag. So let's say series Donut Man. And now as I go through tapes, it'll tell me, is it Donut Man? No. Has it been given that tag? No. But if I just go through like this, I can tag all of these things Donut Man, right? And then I can set a tag of kid songs and look for all the kid songs tapes and be like, all right, let's tag all of these. These are all kid songs. This is particularly helpful when it's like, if there's like old cartoons, perhaps. So there might, this is a little fuzzier. It's not like a consistent title for each of these, but I might do like cartoon and then, okay, yeah, that's old cartoons, that's old cartoons, that's old cartoons. Cartoon explosion, Bugs Bunny, yeah, sure. Cartoons are fun, yeah. And then I could be like, all right, well, what were some other things? Unicorn video. These are all old cartoons. So I can, go through and tag all these. Anyway, that's the neat fun thing I've been working on. It doesn't actually like put this data anywhere, so I have to write some more code to make it do that. Currently, I can just that doesn't actually work. Yeah. Anyway, that's would 1990 cartoons be considered old? Not as I'm defining it. No. Old cartoons would be like pre-war or mid-century. Oh, you know what? These are also old cartoons. Anyway, that I did that. I made this thing. There's also like, this is the code. It's kind of not a typical thing in JavaScript to be navigating with a keyboard. So like some basic ass like keyboard handling stuff to make all this work. Anyway, I figured we'd have a little code talk there. This is the kind of thing that I do while we're watching tapes and I'm not saying anything. Well, anyway, we don't have a lot of time left in our stream today. Let's just put in Martin and Lewis, I guess. We could end. Oh, a dealer's choice before the raid. Well, thank you, Green Day. That's very nice of you. Let's see. We got some choices here. What would be a good dealer's choice song? I'm gonna do actually a few short ones. I have the power to do this. So there are some that are really short that we don't really hear very much. So to When I Take the Time from the Shamu tape. Let's see. Do this one, and we'll do all right. In honor of Pontiac, I'm also going to throw in a Ralph Williams. Here we go.
When I take the time and look around, there's a world of beauty waiting to be found. When I take the time, I see mysteries alive, miracles surviving on the land and in the sea.
That fat, juicy bass is just so good.
When I take the time, there's so much more. Life is full of new surprises to explore. Perfect by design, I find wonder when I take the time, when I take the time.
睇健康，龍馬精神，多謝各位。
Celestial Watergate is good. Was that what it was? Cosmic Watergate. Cosmic Watergate. From the guy that was always beefing with Carl
Yes, you've
Sagan.
seen it in magazines, you've read it in the newspapers. In fact, perhaps you've even seen the owner's picture. Ralph Williams, the owner of Bayshore Chrysler Plymouth, 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno. You notice the big bald-headed son of a bitch? The man that came to San Francisco to offer them more for the dollar they spend. The man that came to San Francisco to rape each and every citizen in the whole San Francisco Bay Area. You don't believe it? Listen to me. I don't lie. Take a fucking car like this.
We hit the bricks
Ford,
at 30 minutes on the UFO tape. Yeah.
Station wagon. Don't worry
Take a
about
fucking
the
car like
imagine
this.
All the fun you
Love
can
it.
have in the back. And while you're doing it, imagine all the money that bald-headed prick Ralph Williams is going to be making on the car he's trying to fuck you out of. Yes, the man that'll take every dime out of the San Francisco Bay Area and spend it on prostitutes, booze, and of course crap tables in the city of Las Vegas. I'm sure you've heard about it. So remember this. If you'd like to get fucked and hooked real hard before you buy a car, come down here. Let Ralph Williams do it. Why not? Why not somebody else? Remember, our address is 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno. But if you come from Marin County, East Bay Area, or San Jose, your money spends just as well as anybody else's. And when this bald-headed son of a bitch gets a hold of you, you will spend money. Talking about payments, 5 years payments of $100 a month. You can't get even. So shop before you buy. Bayshore Chrysler Plymouth.
Okay, I don't want to put another tape in. I'm gonna stall for time with a few more clips. These are some that we don't see very often, so I figured I'd get them back in your brains so they can rattle around.
Need to jump, no need to scuffle, on sit on down and do the Prego shop. Do the Prego shop, do the Prego shop, do the Prego shop, do the Prego shop. Hey, I dig my waddle, it's okay with me, cause every day's a new center of gravity. You'll get much more from your pelvic floor when you pass on the bagel into one more kale. Now let's visualize those big baby eyes and then give a big hug to the number one bug.
Now, before you continue, make sure that you can carry on a normal conversation without
The
getting
pregnancy
winded.
workout tape was worth it, indeed. I don't need to rate Stephen George necessarily. I wrap up my streams on Wednesdays when his starts, as a gentleman's agreement sort of thing. It's not actually, there's no contract that says we have to raid. But since I've been keeping you all here, I'll give him a couple minutes, see if he goes live. This song slaps a lot more than I remember. And I'll stall for time a little longer.
Oh no! This dip is divine. Marshall, what's in this dip? Hi, I'm Dipper. Tonight I have peanut butter and marshmallow sour cream, but I come in 3 other exciting flavors: chocolate clam, creamy garlic, and Hungarian surprise. I go extremely well at wedding showers, chamber mixers, bar mitzvahs, and stag parties. Woo! Have me at your next bash and let me amaze your guests. I can carry on meaningful conversations with them as they eat me. Look for me, Diphead, in the frozen novelties section of your nearest discount barn.
Imagine that.
We've watched Fossils quite a few times, but there are a couple of other Richard Scarry Paragraph songs.
I think it needs more sun, Huckle.
What is the
Here comes
sun?
the sun, shining so bright. There'd be no life without the sun, you know. Much too cold to live, plants wouldn't grow. Darkness all day and nothing in sight. Without the sun, there would be no light. But what is the sun? A star burning bright, like all the other stars that you see at night. Oh, here comes the sun, shining so bright. The sun looks bigger than any other star, 'cause it's closer to the earth than the others are. A ball of burning gases that mix and combine. The rays of the sun give us heat and sunshine. Here comes the sun, shining so bright. Here comes the sun.
There. I hope it gets better.
It has been a while since I've posted a link to the Discord. There it
Listen
is.
for the 8 counts. We'll play the rhythm guitar part first, then I'll take a solo, then you take a solo. Listen for the 8 clicks.
This was the final song from this guitar learning tape. We don't have a command for Discord because I don't know. All of the like chatbot commands and things are stuff that I wrote myself, and I haven't written a Discord command. I have it set up so that the links don't last forever; they only last for 7 days. So I would either have to change that, which would probably be fine, or have the command actually like pull a new link every time you run it. All right, you ready for Cosmic Watergate? It's time. Thank you all for being here today. It's been fun. I'm glad I could work on a little bit of tape tagging, tooling, and I'm glad I could showcase that a little bit. And I've enjoyed the tapes. So it's now time for a raid with Cosmic Watergate, and I will see you in all likelihood on Saturday for our next stream. So yeah, I'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Oh yeah, I should probably start the raid. And then that's going to be us. Just wait for everybody to get in. Cosmic Watergate. All right, bye. I'll see you next time. Stand back.